to be the solution where I would never have solved this without using this video as a primer. Literally, this video primed me to be able to play this game. Honestly, like, it's really hard to different conclusions on things, right? I'm far enough away from watching this as an initial video. I'm far enough away from my playthrough over on the gaming channel. Further plot points make a lot of higher plot points make sense from the story. He also misses a couple things like the pickaxe of despair is a better weapon in this game. I appreciate it on the first part, but maybe it's on the second season. You can see it's
with crying and smoke coming from within. On the door, we find another body, the sword, and inside, we
In a forest near Sonic Hill, the buried corpse of a 30-year-old man was discovered
same as before, the radio reported to a series of murders that took place a case that relates to a man named Walter Sullivan with the same name we found on our door. These plaques, all murders, they're all connected. We just heading back to the spooky glory hole. It's much larger now, and we can even hear children's voices echoing from the rest.
since they're not experiencing the same use that to explain why Duke can see outside the bars, he can reach outside the bars, but isn't seeing it's a weird rationalize. This whole game is very she meets up with James, and then, you know, James even tries to, like, reach out to her, and because of trauma, you know, she returns to her
Interesting, which is a typical theme with the Silent Hill characters, but in the other games, they're generally speaking meant to be weird, mentally disturbed people. This is just a dude living in a flat. In the game, he should be the most vocal about how messed up things are. Where we are actually brought in. This is a prison. And what's even creepier is that the cells are the first floor, we stumble across another tunnel. I didn't need to hear, but it's always worth heading back when you encounter these holes, just in case there's some interesting encounters. In this case, for example, looking through watching TV, laughing like an absolute degenerate.
How could she have fun?
Back, there are two doors. One is locked and the other heads downwards along a huge downwards with the camera stalking from above. It was really well crafted.
You know, the wall creatures actually kind of remind me of what its name is. I guess you could say that they're, trying to waylay your progress and, you know, hide the truth or hide progression. I can see that. But see, even here, like 20 years after the game release, right? We're still talking about this and we're still drawing, you know, conclusions. It's just such an abstract story. Inside by the water wheel, we find a key that gives us access to the upper levels, along with instructions on how to get the power back on. There's a big reservoir on the roof, and we need to open the sluice gate to get the juices flowing again. Sigma BT, thanks for the raid.
Using the key, we find ourselves outside the structure for the first time, only to discover how strong we are.
Yeah.
Not only is this a prison, but it's in it's a water prison. Entering the second floor, notes are written. Central chamber. It's pretty horrific. Heading up another floor, it's business as usual, exploring the cells until we reach the halfway point, and this abomination randomly charges at us. Victims, and they represent a pair of twins. Heading up to the final level, we go down the roof and open the sluice gate, turning the power back on. Absolute result. With a lot of
I feel like the twin victims achieved because what was it? The boogeyman from Downpour, right? The boogeyman from Downpour tried to do Pyramid Head, but couldn't quite do it because design-wise it's just not interesting. I feel like the twin victims did it way better. Like, not that they share the same role, not that the twin victims are a boogeyman, right? But in terms of just being an iconic enemy design, right? Like, would I necessarily say it's Pyramid Head 2? No. Also, I agree, Pyramid Head really... Pyramid Head in other games, like if you put Pyramid Head into Fortnite, would piss me off way less than putting Pyramid Head in a game he doesn't belong in Silent Hill. Like if they released, I don't know, like Silent Hill 1 Remake tomorrow, and it had Pyramid Head in it, I would probably be a little upset. Because it just doesn't... Sure, it's a boogeyman, sure it's Silent Hill, but like, contextually, what Pyramid Head was, James's like, desire to be punished and thus resolving itself by the end of the game. It just, I don't know, I definitely fall into the camp of what I've come to the conclusion of. It pisses me off more when Pyramid Head is used incorrectly in Silent Hill than them licensing it out to whatever, like Dead by Daylight or something, right? In anything but 2, it just doesn't make sense. I get that they're trying to go for that brand recognition. Back on subject though, like, I don't think the twin victims are like it's Pyramid Head 2 by any means, right? Do I think it's a competent design? Do I think it's a design that, like... Do I think that it's a design that works? Absolutely. I think that it's iconic in a lot of ways. I think it just has the unfortunate part of being stuck in a game that is one of the most controversial entries in the series. I said most controversial earlier, that it seems like there's a lot of discourse, whether that's Homecoming, whether that's Downpour, or I guess Downpour might just be considered a badly rated game. You know, it might just suffer from the game that it's in. If the twin victims were in 2, would their reception have been better? Probably not for 2 specifically, now that I think about it. I guess, well, and I think, do we argue, are the twin victims more recognizable than the Mandarin, or whatever they're called in 3, the Closer, I think? Big arms, funny mouth, right? Are they more iconic than the Closer/Mandarin? I think that's an interesting question we would have to answer to consider how iconic they would be. Point being that I'm trying to get out, I think it's a competent design. I like it. Even in Silent Hill 2, we literally have the note of the twin side, right? Like, it's cool. It interconnects the world. I enjoy it. I'm off into the weeds here.
That's on, we turn our attention to the mysterious holes present in the cells, because we need to make our way down. We're in the central chamber now, the mysterious area the guards will use to spy, and you can even look through each hole into the different cells. On a table, we find a diary that outlines the horrific tale that unfolded here. This was a prison for children, specifically children that belonged to the wishing house. And to make matters worse, because of the prison's deterioration, the majority of the cells were sealed permanently. The kids were stuck, and they didn't even know it. I can't open the doors, but from this room, I can watch them get more and more emaciated each day. With no food and never showering themselves, they turn into smelly little grey lumps. It then goes on to explain the purpose of the holes. They apparently drill them in to dispose of the bodies. And
so this is one of those... This is a really weird one, and he correctly points it out. It is less work for them to drill up holes in the floor than to get, like, I don't know, like a metal circular saw or something, right? Like, because saw blades are rated for certain things, right? And there's certain saw blades that can cut metal, right? I don't know, just hires Dr. Salvador for Resident Evil 4 and cut open the cell, right? I don't know, like, it's... Abstract is the word that comes to mind. I think if you wanted to describe Silent Hill 4, it's abstract horror, abstract comic horror. Probably how I'd describe that, honestly. But I guess we also have to consider, and we haven't quite gotten to it yet, I don't think, what the meaning of the otherworld stuff, right? or at least as it pertains to Silent Hill 4. So I'll hold off a bit longer. But I mean, the impossible architecture and actions taking place don't necessarily fit in reality.
I mean, if you had this level of ingenuity, surely just fixing the doors would have been easy. But hey, who am I to judge? There's one more note on the wall in this area, and it has the code for a secret door behind the kitchen. We just need to find the kitchen. With no better leads, the only option the player has is to follow the bodies through the disposal chute.
So speaking of smelly gray lumps, also a fun fact about these things too. And I don't know if it's like a PS2 rendering thing or whatever, but like if you look to like one side, you'll have like half of them like that, like on the other, like, so if you look to your left, right, the ones on the right will just like stop moving, and then if you look right, the ones on like the left will stop moving. It's really funny.
Slowly, we align all the cells, and once complete, we get a cutscene from the prisoner we saw earlier, showing that his cell has mysteriously opened. Descending the ladder on our way to the hole, we find the prisoner and the young child from earlier having a conversation.
Stay in there, Walter, I'm telling you, stay down. Walk away. That's you, Walter. He was really into that mumbo jumbo, especially that descent. Scary. Oh God. Oh.
There's a lot to unpack with that. This child is apparently Walter Sullivan, the same person involved in a series of murders that happened many years ago. But the kid looks no older than 10 himself.
That kid, Walter. He was really into that mumbo jumbo.
When the cutscene finishes, a bunch of grey pole-like creatures rise from the ground. They don't attack, they can only hurt us if we walk into them, so they're not a real threat. And it might be a stretch, but I think these could represent the many young'uns that passed in this prison. They only appear when the tunnel is aligned, and in the diary upstairs, they refer to the starving kids as smelly little grey lumps.
So we also, this would have also, we would also have to bring light down here, right? And notice that, you know, they would have been trapped in a dark environment. Other than that, people, they might be seen as reaching towards the light, right? I could see some parallels here.
Which is kind of how you might describe these creatures. Making our way to the 3rd floor, we begin our jumping. The implication here is extremely alarming. The disposal chute leads right into the kitchen.
It's okay, so it's fine.
Where food for the other prisoners is prepared. But the good news is that we know the code for the door on the note we found earlier. And that's where we find watchfulness. This is a...
So you can get to this point, but if you try to hit the pin pad, it will be dark. Thus, you have to align the lights correctly. I got stuck on this part for a bit.
Very bad sign, because as you should know by now, anything that precedes one of these bad boys, well, it's usually nothing pretty. Using the code, which is actually the same number as our room, 0302, we enter what has been referred to up to this point as the torture room behind the kitchen. Walking forwards, we find Andrew. Henry looks exchange, he heads inside, allowing more victims to act. And you know what? I appreciate nothing more in a monster than having the courtesy to wait your turn to fight. A true gentleman. Entering the building, something is immediately...
Man, and the audio in this game is just next level. The noises, the gurgling. Scary movie all over again. Dude, it all comes back to the fish tank.
Inside the room, we find a ghost, except this one's immobile, pinned to the ground with a special sword, an item known as the Sword of Demons. There are around the world, and they have a special spirits to be permanently pinned. It's important to keep these for a later point. A baseball bat, a classic weapon, able to deal more damage at a slight
I mean, it's a valid question. Which specifically? It's up to interpretation.
In the other room, we pass through a pet shop, into a lift, and head down. Speaking to Walter, a child Richard appears to have some kind of history with.
You look a lot like a little punk that I once caught sneaking around there. Do you know something about what's going on?
When he's talking to Walter, it kind of reminds me of Hades from Animated Hercules a little bit. Like, I hear a little bit of it. I don't think it's the same VA.
Eventually, Henry arrives at Pacific, where his progress is blocked by a locked door with a keypad. Thankfully, there's a note on the bar that shines some light on the situation. The number is the last 4 digits of the store's phone number, but the number is written right there. From South have it in there, or your request objective there. I don't know how much. It's a very, and I mean this is the best way. It's a very simplistic. which goes on and down, so it can feel like you're going nowhere. It almost looks door to room 207, another plaque, this time for chaos. Inside, we find This visit begins slightly different to the others. Not seen before, knocking on room 303. Affected by the corruption, it's a small patch of normality in the rusted chaos. Walter himself also appears, knocking on the door and asking for his mum, but when you walk close to him, he instantly disappears.
Harry Mason being what's the name? One definitely has a direct sequel in 3. 2 kind of has some things that happen in 4. It's like they're more.
And that's where we have to head. But first, there are more letters under our door. Grabbing them, we learn some crucial details. The numbers on the bodies, we've been reading them wrong. There isn't a 1 in the middle. It's being counted out of 21. Walter is already 19.
It's not 1, 1, 1, 2, 1. It's 11 out of 21. It goes up to 21. Which is really cool. And definitely like when you go back. It was really cool how long they kept that going for. This section, there's a little bit of misinformation going on about this specific section as well. Which I'll dispel once we actually finish talking about what he's about to do.
So it is already 19 down, only 2 more to go. We just don't know to what end. In the stairwell, we find the strange dude that was knocking on Arlene's door. It should be pretty obvious who this man is, but we'll suspend conclusions for this. We're almost there. He offers to us. Explain later, we do not want to take this door. It will screw us up. Inside Frank's room, we find a journal talking about how a woman gave birth in room 305 before abandoning the baby.
If I remember,
Without end until you find its source.
so yeah, this part I actually had someone in chat when I streamed this. They just said this is the exact room you want to go to. This part is just so. It's so annoying. Like he's gonna see talks about how like if it was like dynamic, like if you could actually like oh, I'm moving away from this clearly or I'm moving closer to this.
The ringing is awful. It never stops and constantly sounds like it's ringing right inside your actual ear. It should be this loud just outside the door. Not only is it annoying, but it makes it almost impossible to accurately travel where the sound comes from because there's no range at all.
You know, playing, you know, hide and seek with this phone, right, while it's ringing in your ear. Like, you have a lot of stuff pressure being put on you in this moment. Just unnecessary, right?
I'm glad the developers allowed Henry to push through them. If they blocked our way in these rooms, I'd have yeeted my desktop out the window. Eventually, we find the phone in apartment 202 and turn it off. I don't understand what the point of the phone ringing was. It serves no purpose other than being incredibly annoying. You can find this room regardless. I don't get it. There isn't even anything great in this particular flat.
I feel like I lost the artistic vision behind this one. I have no idea why this section is relevant, if I'm being honest. Other than, like, consequence, help move the plot, consequence to finding thing, move you to a specific room in the vague area where your next destination is. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm missing some kind of horror movie trope. I don't know. I get a little horror movie trope like that right here. Yeah, this one's a little bit of a miss for me, Captain.
Once we've gathered all the letters around the building and posted them, we return to our room and discover that the key to Eileen's flat was hidden down the side of our bed the whole time. Strolling over, what do you know? There it is.
Weird.
I reiterate, not a huge fan of this level. Key in hand, we head over to room 303, and just before arriving, we hear a scream. Opening the door, we find Eileen having been made another victim. In the real world, an ambulance is leaving the block, and looking through the hole, we get a spook as Robbie is now covered in blood and pointing right at us, almost as if it's blaming us directly for Eileen's situation.
So, yes and no. Like, I could definitely see that. I see that being a conclusion. I would also cite the Receiver of Wisdom, which he talks about a little bit later, but I'll bring it up now because I will forget. That's why the twins also point at you, right? And why certain things seem to happen to the Receiver of Wisdom so he can receive that wisdom, right? I can see that also having a double meaning here.
So they took the victim to St. Jerome's.
Yeah, she's not gonna make it. She had numbers in her back too.
We don't know where the hole will take us next, but for Eileen's sake, we have to try something. And entering the bathroom, we've discovered that the hole's gone. It's completely sealed. Our only access to the outside world is shut off. With no idea what to do, we walk into the living room and find something under the door. A succubus talisman. But what do we do with it? Looking around high and low, it's not until Henry checks his utility room that he finds something. There's a mark on the wall, and placing the talisman on it, 4 slots open, each one relating to the 4 plaques that we found with each victim. Taking them and placing them accordingly, a new hole is created. This time, a complete version.
I can't tell what the ruins are. Are these Nordic ruins? I actually don't know what the ruins inside of the ritual circles are. I'm assuming they're Nordic. I could not tell you offhand.
And we head in. We're instantly met with recognizable surroundings, and in front of us, the stranger from the apartment is up to no good with a cadaver, a body that is designed to look just like Claudia Wolf.
Yeah.
Henry leaves the room as the man presses forward, but I wasn't having it. I went back in to pummel the lads, only to find that the body transformed into a monster, something simply known as the Patient, and upon hearing it, you will be taken aback.
Yeah. Actual sound effect from the game. Yep.
The creature appears to burp when you hit it, which at first is hilariously comical. Why would they design something that sounds like it's burping? Looking into its meaning, it gets kind of dark. The outstanding theory is that the noise is actually gases produced from a decomposing body, specifically when their internal organs change. Obviously, it's still funny, but at least this explanation gives more brevity than haha, big gal go burp. There's not
I mean, it is still pretty funny when you hit them down the stairs, though.
much on the first floor other than the doctor's office, where we find a spread pertaining to Eileen's case. Here, we actually see a few moments of humanity from Henry, who genuinely seems to care for her safety. On the floor down the hall, we find a purse, and judging by Henry's reaction, it's gotta be Eileen's. This could cause damage, Henry unironically thinks. Upstairs, we the execution is among the dumbest enemy design ever. I can't look at these things without being reminded of the wheelchair scene from Scary Movie 2. That scene completely ruins Scary.
Yeah, it makes me laugh every time.
Tiny little rooms here, and there's an entry every single room. And at random, one of the rooms will contain a truly unsettling visual. A giant twitching version of Eileen's head staring at Henry. It's something that straddles the line between being hilarious and utterly disturbing, but it is one hell of a memorable sight. It's something you can recognize instantly.
I went through all of these rooms.
Scared, but alive.
People in dire circumstances. Truly, just an upstanding leader.
Have a paddle. We decided that the best course of action is to take her back to our room via the hole. We guide her down and head in. Waking.
So it stops, so this tells me that she does, like on rewatch, this tells me that she doesn't actually see it. She doesn't actually see it.
It's dark, and Henry even remarks that the place feels oppressive. Something's happening.
There must be something down there.
So the plan is for us to work together to find Jason and get to the
But there's a couple points. There's a couple points that are hit the end game threshold where it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't. Which you also use.
we find ourselves on a foggy, winding walkway. This area is traversed descending the spiral each time.
It's an upper left.
You will traverse from one level. Descending the spiral each time. Something that the location feels familiar. Turning the corner, we find the escalator. We're back in the subway. As I alluded to earlier, the game in the first half leads to all locations to
It's super heavy backtrack, if I'm being honest, like super heavy. So remember early on with the funny escalator section where they give you, where, you know, you just hope they give you a nice swat on the ass up the stairs? You remember that section where you're like, man, you kind of have to take damage here, right? It's a big RNG game. So apply that to an escort mission where if she takes too much damage, you get the bad ending. Now you know why there's some friction points here in the lane.
plus some changes, new enemies, new puzzles, and a few new locations, but there's no denying that a game only having 4 areas that will repeat for the second half can be seen as a lazy way of giving some longevity. Anyway, having taken some damage, I decided to head back to the room and heal up, but something wrong. The room's haunted and it's dangerous. From this point on, we can't heal. We have to rely on healing items we find in the world. Other problems will also start to occupy the room, which damage Henry and then not exercised.
So this is definitely Suck City. I know there was some misinformation, like I talked about earlier, where if you pick up the doll from Walter, it makes the haunting. So you know it's kind of a syndrome because you're trained to pick up everything, factor if you've been chugging your health rates and stuff just back to back, right? Like, because they're really in the first half. I found when I went through my playthrough, I did it on normal, so being super authoritatively on it, right? Like, just go back to the there's plenty of points back there. It feels full. It just takes a second, right? And it saves the items for later in the game when you're not only having to deal with the room not healing you, you're having to deal with hauntings, you're having to deal with more ghosts, more aggressive ghosts, which we'll find. You're having to deal with, you know, Eileen maybe potentially getting into a weird situation where, you know, there's like 10 twin victims staring at you in front of a door and you're just, oh boy. Which honestly, the gun goes really hard in that specific section. I don't even think I had a mag dump. I think like 4 shots did it. It was kind of wild. Anyways, we'll get to that later. But the misinformation was that if you take the doll, the room will become haunted and thus unable to heal you. That will happen regardless, as I understand it. So just clearing up some around the playground, Mew under the truck, like, you know, rumors.
It is a brilliant subversion of expectation. When the game begins, the room's unsettling and disturbing. Then once you understand its purpose, you feel safe in it. It's a resource you can rely on. Then all of a sudden, not only does the room help you, but it actively hurts us. It becomes oppressive and violent. Also, it's a haunted door, and you can't get rid of it. Having to escort Eileen is a troubling combination for players, because if you played the game wrong in the first half, you've kind of screwed yourself in the second. If you waste all the resources on the The ghost of Cynthia now haunts this area with a very Ringu appearance, long black hair, and a haunting crawling animation, sliding around the floor when attacked.
Yeah.
This is the biggest thematic shift of the second half because every area is now haunted by the ghost of its victims, and said ghost will reflect the way they died when we were with them. These ghosts are the best use case for the magic swords we discussed earlier. They're significantly more powerful, so it's best to keep them pinned down, and while that might seem like more effort than it's worth, because dear lord do they take ages to beat down,
This is not an exaggeration. Even on normal, their health pool is massive. These
it
are
really
mini
is worth
boss
doing,
enemies.
because once encountered, they will relentlessly follow us into the other worlds. Using the toy box key, we unlock a chest in one of the train carts, finding a coin that gives us a key to the room where Cynthia was found. Hoops. We're jumping through hoops right now. Heading to the ladder, we realize what should have been obvious.
I can't use a ladder with my arm like this.
Eileen can't use any ladders. We have to leave her behind and quickly make our way through alone. There's a couple of moments like this. It's a well-needed break from the escorting mechanic. Just
No, I don't know if it swings in the background like that. I think it's more furiously wiggling around now. I'd have to go back on a replay. I think that's just an animation it does, but I can't remember offhand. If it was going on replay, the funny thingy, right? If that moved faster this late in the game, I mean, we could also draw conclusions from that as well.
alone. There's a couple of moments like this. It's a well-needed break from the escorting mechanic, just a few moments every now and then to let us cool off. At the ticket booth, we get a crank for a train and a ticket for the turnstile, which allows Eileen to get through, bypassing the ladder. This means we have to go down the escalator of death with not only ourselves, but Eileen as well.
Yeah, I hated this section. Because, yeah, this could foobar you in a couple different ways.
Love those hitboxes. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. Using the handle, we're able to shift one of the trains forwards, opening our way out, and through the subway exit, the game shifts it up another gear.
It's the mysterious man.
He plays his hand, and from now on, he will chase and attack the player relentlessly with handguns, chainsaws, and a steel pipe. It should.
You know, so I've watched a couple videos on Silent Hill 4. Obviously, totally pointless TVs. I think Lady of the Lore did one as well. I noticed this during my playthrough. If you look at the back of like Walter's head, like there's some kind of red orb or something like this, like back of his neck, back of his head, like there's some kind of redness here. I've never seen anybody draw any sort of draw anything from that. I've never heard anyone even talk about it. So I guess we're just like, is he just like are we just writing it off as like him being a spooky ghost? I've never seen anything about it. It could be somewhere, I just haven't seen him. But this is definitely something I noticed on my playthrough, and I don't have an answer for it. I would assume it has to do something with maybe this violent being a spirit.
The strange man has been ever present. He plays his hand, and from now on, he will chase and attack the player relentlessly with handguns, chainsaws, and a steel pipe. It should be very obvious. This is Walter Sullivan, or at least a ghostly version of himself, who for some reason has split into two identities: his older psychotic self and his younger scared self. He's lost the plot and wants us dead, which is a problem because no matter how hard you try, you can't put him down. Even the swords won't pin him. So
is it not just a random splotch of blood? It could be, but it feels like it's too bright. Maybe it's the lighting.
We have to run, heading down the spiral once again. Back in the forest, Walter follows us through, and he's super annoying. Between the dogs and his Devil May Cry style gunfire, you're in trouble.
Yeah, he wasn't super fun here. Especially, I think he has specific squares he shows up in, so you can kind of mitigate it if you know where to go. There's actually a really interesting point that the game doesn't. mean something, especially when it's like as contrasting as this, throws me for a loop, right? I'm arguing that the current, if this is a drink, I'm arguing it makes sense being blue. Just because they're blue, they have to mean something. I don't know if they can remake this game.
He's harmless and wants his mum, who he believes lives in room 305, or more bizarrely, it's implied, he believes the room itself is his mother. He's hiding behind a statue containing a seal of metaphor.
Again, something mommy.
I don't think I actually was able to get her to read these two stuff. I'd have to check the comments. Damage, I would assume the event flag is to just be here with my face. That you can, but I don't think I was able to read like Silent Hill Homecoming, right, was banned, I think, in Australia, or was there like it ran into issues because of the drill scene, right? Like, how do they? I wonder what it's like behind the scenes, and I wonder if there's a false conclusion being made here. In regards to we don't need
and they're all connected through this spike with horrific imagery scattered around.
it's so abstract, right? In like where like there's cars parked in like just impossible places. Something to Walter, right? Like Walter notoriously has a fear of animals, and that's why you get the sniffers with the the twin victims, obviously Walter did do the twin victims, he did commit them, so they kind of recur. The wish house, right? So we can draw the potentially reasonably draw. The water pump is just the mind of Walter in his memory of the wish house. The mind of a child like talk to what police can tell you this most of all, right? Hey, I want you to identify the person who did it in this lineup, and the person identifies the wrong person. They thought they identified the right person, but memory is fallible. Memory is malleable. Memory is not reliable. So we can look at Walter's time super good condition, right? You know, great lumps. Oh, dude, there's so many into the depths of Walter the Sand. It's not wrong. Usually birds then, right?
So you have to go all the way back and look in the chamber by the kitchen, you find a description of the liquid before the naturally are going
This is not the specific hole that you're supposed to touch, right? It's not the specific hole that says you may do the thing. But the ladder's right there. You could move the box or the track. would not have figured this out without playing it, right? But yeah, I would not have thought about it.
Soaking it, we discover a hidden message outlining the location of another sword and revealing that Andrew had a key to the newly locked engine room. The terminology used on it, sticking, is meant to be prison talk for shanking, but it's actually used to outline the solution to getting the key. We have to defeat the ghost of Andrew, then steal it, allowing us to steal the key. In the engine room, the burn creature is back, dangling from the ceiling again, and this one is they know what they have to blur that. Heading through the back door,
Dude, this literally reminds me of Lost Iceland, like the 14 copies of the Star Wars demons. Same vibe. This is the point I was talking about as well.
This encounter's kind of frustrating. There's too many to fight and they're too dense to just run through. I managed to reach this point without Eileen taking any real damage, but here she was knocked down twice, being completely
You just don't get fired. You just backed up this. This the higher difficulty. I save an entire magazine just for this.
I had to pull out the gap and mow him down, GTA style. Once dealt with, we continue forward on our journey.
You saw the bullet pen on that too. It's wild in this game. Bullets feel good.
Reappears, and it's a very unique ghost, more human than the other ones. It attacks with a steel pipe and can teleport while you're fighting. That only goes with that ability. He's a bitch to fight, really aggressive, which is probably in reference to his abusive nature when he was alive. You can't
You could also argue the increased speed as well as the ability to teleport and see the shot. I think it was improved here. You could argue maybe electricity seen as fast has impacted it from the great beyond.
and use the ultra rare making it understandable push forward. So in this level, the progression was a little different.
This one was a little out of track for me.
Throwing items to the past and the right place that was the new location. It felt redundant. We have to find a sleep, a void. Look how many there are. Surely Walter won't mind if one goes missing. The only area that offers one deck is the pet shop, which has a direct link to Walter. The game heavily implies that most of the animals there. This piece of information could give context to some of the creatures we've encountered. Their random assortment of noise when damaged. This could be linked to different animals that Walter harmed in his lifetime. Taking that a step further, the gumheads, they would appear to have another head growing out of their chest. It's possible that these creatures represent the human sacrifices Walter used to rebirth himself as an immortal spirit.
You could also say that it's because he thinks that people are two-faced, right? Where maybe someone says hi to him on the street behind his back, brain trick, right? On the surface, whatever, he's just a dude, but then is abusive, behind the scenes, right? Or something to do with this, right? That kind of thing, right? So maybe it's Walter in his commentary on how people are animals that are two-faced. There's a lot of depth here. I really adore this.
This is around about the point where you begin to feel like this game isn't really Henry's story. It's Walter's. These worlds and creatures, they're manifestations of Walter's psyche. As explained by Masashi Sawayama, the art director and monster designer, the creatures are manifestations of things from Walter's subconscious mind, and the ghosts are the people who Walter has killed, trapped in this world, wandering about. In this way, it makes sense why Henry is such a muted personality. He's a driving vehicle into this twisted world.
What's going on here?
While trying to restore the many different items, we will eventually stumble across an interaction with the two versions of Walter.
It's time to complete the 21 sacraments. Well, let's go and see Mother.
I'm gonna be honest, because any sort of remake would not have the original VA. And that's something we're running into as time goes on, right? Like we didn't get the original Krauser VA back for Resident Evil 4 remake. We didn't get the original VA for Sadler back. Although I think one of them had unfortunately passed on, or I think one of them unfortunately got Alzheimer's, right? It just time passes, right? Not everyone's going to be around forever, right? And that's just the unfortunate fact of life. I don't think they could do Walter's voice justice. Like his soft-spoken yet foobar personality, just dude, it's so good.
Let me go.
Not only are they aware of each other, but the older version has some kind of plan for his younger self.
Damn.
What are you damning at, Henry?
Damn.
What are you gonna do? The man can't die. He dual wields pistols and has a chainsaw. Be thankful he's too busy to kill your ass right now. Once all of the
Walter's VA is around 78. Damn, bro.
the items are returned to their respective places, we head back to the bar, down the stairs, and progress to the final area of the game. But before reaching the spiral, we're cut off by a surprise boss, one of the only bosses in the game. This guy's called the One Truth. It consists of multiple hanging monsters, all of which are fake bar one, which we have to identify and kill.
This is what I was thinking. This is what the wall guys look like, right? Also, the One Truth, you do see some of these models in the too. I did note that. That was really interesting to see those. But yeah, this is actually a really interesting boss fight. Not mechanically. Mechanically, it's kind of meh. But like, man, like there's stuff here.
Finding the correct monster can be a pain. It just depends on where it spawns in relation to the start location. And as with all the wall beasts, the hitbox for this guy is wild. There isn't much symbolism for the One Truth, although based on the name and the fact that it's present just before Henry reaches the final area, you can assume it's meant to be a form of test. Henry has to prove he's ready for the final confrontation.
The way that the conclusion I came to, and I think Lady of the War had this conclusion on it, is the boss is titled the One Truth, but they're guarding the way forward. Therefore, this is Walter's attempts at obfuscating what the truth is, thus us needing to find the truth and be able to, beat the boss and move on, right? Like us trying to find the truth is kind of
Hitting the correct version will cause all the monsters to cringe as well, which would make finding the correct one obvious in second playthroughs, but until you know that, it's just a guessing which doesn't work in the Grey Room, but travelling to the modern day, we're able to break down that wall.
However, we're in the end game, boys. That was helpful.
We're right back in the apartment. Shouldn't really surprise anyone, we have unfinished business. This time, the walls are different. They're thicker with blood. It's almost living, which was the first real environment change in the second half. I really the level to demonstrate this level of change.
How you get this effect from like the pulsating eyes and stuff. I don't know if it would be the same. I feel like you lose some of the soul and try to.
Except now the mask has been cast off. It's revealed. But from the bottom there's a head drooping down, almost as if the fridge has been burned. I think this reinforces my theory about the gun creatures, that these monsters likely represent Walter's rebirth. It's worth noting that
Silent Hill Homecoming, and he's just like, it looks like they shot out their own head. And I'm like, yeah, no, that looks like that,
he was an innocent child, abandoned by his parents and swept away to an alcohol orphanage where he was subjected to unknown horrors there's no coming back, so make sure you are fully stocked up, and once ready, you pass through.
I do like when games do this, because Crisis Core Final Fantasy 7 did this, where like, you had an evil hive, and it's like, you know, you're not when you're going from Ishimura back down, or to Aegis 7, right?
In a circular ring, the face
It's so inconsistent. At certain points, her back was really important. And I draw attention to this in my playthrough. It felt just super. Maybe it was specific with the COD version. I don't know. I mean, I got the best ending, so like. Through the playthrough. Like, I was definitely a little sheepish throughout a lot of this game.
Before we go, it's placed in front of her, which temporarily lowers her possession level, although there are mixed reports about how effective this is at changing the walk speed, so I wouldn't rely on it too much. When the fight
As far as I'm aware, it doesn't work. That being said, if it does work, I'm open to the contrary. I'm open to someone citing that you did do this and it did work, because it seems like there's more reports of it not working than it actually working. Maybe I think it could be proximity, it could be the timer. I personally don't see it working, but I'm open to the contrary information and citations.
begins, Walter will pursue us, and as always, he can't be hurt. First, we have to deal with the big, ugly mum demon by using the umbilical cord, then impaling it with 8 spikes we find across the room. Once done, Walter is human and can be killed, which leads to a painfully awkward and anticlimactic shootout between the two.
Yeah. Like, you're supposed to dodge because there is a dodge mechanic, but just stand and deliver firing line.
The boss is a mixed bag, which in a way is wonderfully representative of the game. The first section's great, running around, trying to grab the spears and impaling the monster in a race against time.
These actually remind me of the Lance of Longinus, the fork from Evangelion. I'm sure there's an actual reason for this.
Balancing your inventory, too much ammo and healing, and you won't have enough space for the spears. Once Walter becomes vulnerable, the boss grinds to a halt, and the two men stand a few feet apart, exchanging a ridiculous amount of bullets.
You might even be able to see that. Remember the corpse earlier that we talked about with all the hanging in the spiral section with a bunch of like things jabbed into their stomach, right? You can almost argue that maybe that's a hint to this, or at least indicative of this. Wiki, it's supposed to resemble an ophonym, the sphere. I have no clue what an ophonym is.
This is actually the only time where you kind of have to use the dodge mechanic. Dodge is shot, get a few off, dodge again. This at least adds some tactic to it, I guess, but in any case, we eventually get the better of him. He falls to the ground, and in his final breath, he cries out for his mother. This leads to one of 4 endings, depending on a combination of 2 factors: the number of hauntings you cleared from the room, and whether or not Eileen survives the final encounter. In the good ending, the ending I of course got, Walt is killed, the hauntings are vanquished, and both Henry and Eileen are saved.
Notice that the room, his quote-unquote mother, opens. It's poetic. Walter just was not wanted either by his parents or his chosen parent, the room, right? It's tragic, which brings up parents, or it's notice that the room, his quote-unquote mother, opens after he's gone. It's poetic. Walter just was not wanted either by his parents or his chosen parent, the room, right? It's tragic, which brings up the point of, Walter definitely got the short end of the stick, but like, was it Jason? Whoever the reporter was, right? You have to kill Walter. Yeah, Walter lived a really bad life and was not wanted. But you also have to remember that Walter did some pretty messed up stuff. And like you know, you're going to want to show him, you know, some sort of empathy, some sort of sympathy. But the only way to truly resolve it is that he's unforgivable. You can't let him live, which is a really interesting moral conundrum to give the player. And we brought it up when I played through it. Oh, there's another thing I was going to bring up here. I'm trying to remember. I did get it twisted as well. I don't remember what video I watched. Because this is the ending I got. For some reason, I got it confused with another ending. And I'm trying to remember that in the background. Ophanim are basically biblical wheels. That would make sense. But I didn't have that as a reference.
He really does seem happy to be alive. Getting this ending is technically one of the hardest, although it's not exceptionally hard. You have to clear 80% of the room's hauntings and make sure Eileen doesn't get battered along the journey. That's basically it.
So, this makes sense. So the hauntings nightmares technically.
Is possessed by the spirit that walks in his created. Eileen Death is a rather selfish one, where Henry keeps himself safe by clearing all the hauntings in 302, but allowing Eileen to die at the end.
4 of the victims were found and the 5th victim, Gal, was transported to St. Jerome.
The bad ending is called Eternal Silence, in which Walter wins. He gets his way. The ritual is completed. Two protagonists are through. It's a missed opportunity to make the room like a sitcom, like Friends or something. Well, what can you do? A mixed bag when it comes to public opinion, and an interesting game that tried something different while still maintaining its core horror focus. Does it have flaws? Frustrating and kind of unforgiving, but it has such a memorable and distinct theme that makes it really stand out. A theme of isolation and desperation. If we hit 500,000 subs, I'll make a video on Silent Hill 2 and Manhunt 2, double trouble, so make it happen. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed the hour you spent with me. It's only fair. Check it out.
Especially with, like, you know, G-Man in the ceiling. This was a little bit of a rush job. There was definitely a time crunch involved. I, in no way, my finalist, but he has a 2-hour, 49-minute video on Silent Hill. Amazing video. Actually, I really loved it. Definitely go check it out, especially if you have not. Let me know what you thought about this. And if not, the longer videos. I like doing more stuff and reacting to horror content in the past. It's kind of a mixed bag. But let me know what your thoughts.
Knife on deck. She says that she's there to grab his eggs, and my bro is shocked. But we're talking about a real egg, an actual black dragon. The fan has been searching for days, but the moment we encountered it, he was ambushed by this gangster trio with a thick cage. My bro tried to fend for himself, but having just awakened and being against 3 higher levels, he had no chance. Now deliciously immobilized. The girl says realizes the beast died way too easily. Not to mention he's already up to she's up to level 9. Also, the system's cooldown is really something, so he's going to receive another turn. He's already excited to see her this time, and calls the little dragon for a stroll. And apart from the depths of the tavern, the girl with blue hair tells him that the opportunity is very good and he can't let it pass. The knight named Sunji responds that to enter the dragon, he need at least 5 people. The girl named Kai, who has the profession of Heart's Bandit, says that even with her agility, this journey will take a day. However, the girl carrying a staff explains that these realms appear once every 24 hours and are extremely rare. She is Kin Shu and her profession is a mystery. Sunji tells her resources, but suddenly he hears something and the three turn around. It's Lufin saying that the scared is just passing by. Sunji sees in his clothes and says that the adventure of that level shouldn't be there, it's dangerous. Kin Q touches the knight's hand, talks to Lufin introducing herself and making an offer. She invites him to join them and enter the fruitful realm without anything, still receive 100,000 coins at the end. Lufin seems to recognize this name of the fruitful realm and asks if she really will give 100,000 coins. She says yes, and that he doesn't need to worry. The only thing they want is a few more people to close the group. They are already 4 people, meaning that Knight, who wasn't introduced, is garbage and Sunji tells him to come quickly. But Lufin says he's not interested in money, but in participating as a member. The 3 turn somewhat startled. The Heart's Bandit asks if he really wants to compete based on performance, meaning he Shoei rest to only use her when really necessary. With that, they enter the realm through the portal. This is the realm of intermediate level lamentation and hard difficulty. Upon entering, Kin Q says the place is very silent, even though there are voices. Sunji asks Lufin why he doesn't have any weapons. He stretches out his hands and flames appear. From the inventory, he takes out a dragon blade he received from the second map. Seeing the blade, Sunji says it's amazing. He thought he was trash. But is he a transfer student by any chance? Suddenly, the ground explodes with a hand coming out and decaying level 15 zombies appear. Shojia, the fighter who will definitely die, rushes forward with the advance ability. Sunji says he did a great job and starts cutting down zombies too. Seeing the group's formation, Lufin thinks they're really well organized. Suddenly, Kin Q raises her staff to the sky, invoking lightning. Just protection to avoid any kind of danger. Until the plague destroyed everything. Bodies piled up in the lakes with not enough graves. She desperately wanted to save everyone, so she prayed every day. But in the end, she became a hot goth. I mean, a cruel witch of darkness. She couldn't save the people, so she summoned the spirits of the dead so people could say goodbye. But the church that had sheltered her for so long accused her of causing the plague. They chained her up and dragged her through the streets. Thrown into the lake, all she wanted was to save everyone, or at least allow them to say goodbye. She did nothing wrong, and that was the story of the Mourning Spectre. While the group wonders how Lufin can summon a dragon, he's asking when they're going to leave that realm. But the portal hasn't opened yet, so that means the boss hasn't died yet. The lake starts to bubble, and suddenly an explosion occurs, sending a wave towards everyone, with a monster appearing in the middle of it, evolving from a Mourning Spectre to a Vengeance, which not only gave her abilities but also greatly increased her stats. The soft-hearted bandit was trembling, unable to believe it, and the boss warned that no one would escape from there, and launched a water attack. Shoei has an effect that prevents her from receiving debuffs, so she defended Lufin. However, the bubble that exploded from Kair's lair trapped her in a water trap. Sunji tried to help her get free, but it was immune to physical damage. Trapped, she apologized to Kin Q, who said it was okay. Lufin asked if she was going to give up so easily. She explained that the boss was immune to physical attacks and only she had magic attacks, but she was too weak. She sends a hand attack towards Shoei, which can cause instant death or applied debuff. Due to immunity, nothing happens, and Lufin knows that his dragon can handle it. But even though he's a dragon tamer, the level difference is still too great. The boss was preparing to attack again when Lufin said that dragons are incomparable. Shoei easily nullified all the effects the boss applied, and her stats increased when Lufin activated the dragon's inspiration. And immediately after, he activated the lava flame. The barrage of fire hit the boss's face, causing it to melt in front of them. No one could believe what was happening as the boss was falling apart. Suddenly, she exploded, emanating an aura that would awaken all the bodies within that realm. A chest appeared, and Shoei's and Lufin's levels increased. Sunji got excited, saying he could finally see the portal, But behind them, several creatures were rising. Suddenly, she walked past them, and with a flame attack, she swept the entire field. They recognized her as the giant dragon, and Luthen said her name was Shoei, and these monsters were nothing but toys to him. And he turns around, saying it's better to worry about the rewards. He says that according to the rules, he will choose first and asks if anyone objects, and obviously, no one says anything. Into light. Inside, there's an excellent quality sacred chance to advance to a higher rank. Kim Chu said that wasn't the best item he could take. He could take the rest for himself. But Luthen said it was okay. It's the item he wants, and these equipment will suit him more. She doesn't all the he would have died. And because of that, she offers him the ring. Luthen says if that's the case, he'll accept it. And with that, Luthen will return. While Kim Chu wonders what other secrets he holds. 4 hours later, he returned home, and his auntie came to be cute, throwing bread at his face. He told her to wait a little longer, to take a shower. But suddenly, she started crying, saying she was worried and hugged the boy. She apologizes for leaving over a note, and says it won't happen again. He pets her sweetly, telling her to stop crying. This aunt is a dangerous national wish that I've seen less passionate couples. She gets jealous, and she's impressed that it's Sometime later, Jerry rewards herself for all the rewards. That night, Kim was questioned by someone about the person who was the dragon tamer. She explained that due to her recklessness, almost everyone died. The brown dad asked if she didn't tell anyone about the dragon. What's he thinking of doing? Is he not thinking of getting that dragon? Dad laughs, saying he's not that kind of person, and she should worry about how she's going to thank him. She says she gave him 100,000, but she doesn't. Princess Fantasia Kingdom is going to study in the city of Jupiter. Princess However, our protagonist is a bit disappointed. Compared to Soleil's egg, this one is very weak. Attributes seem interesting. The princess thinks he's an idiot who doesn't know how important a dragon egg is to a dragon team. All these details is on to worry us like him. Jinsu says about the dragon egg is useless. Luthen says it's Dante gets angry, saying he's being disrespectful to the princess when he came there. Luthen laughs, saying that being Jinzu points and says it's up to a knight to choose antagonist in the back of the neck. However, Purchase family reckless, and Jinzu tells the guy to attack him again and stop hesitating. Lufin calls for the princess and slaps her back. Man, equal rights now. Let's spread the word. Queen Hante tries to attack him from behind at this moment, but he's lying there. And he took another slap. The only one that's up so far as the protagonist. Saying he's trash. Does she see something? We should kill the dragon tamer now. Joey is sleeping peacefully. An explosion happens beside her. It's Hante being thrown and Hante jumps to crush them both as Kim Q takes his arm. He narrowly avoids the attack. Lufin knows how to use his dragon abilities to deal with this now. Jinzu tells them not to kill the key. That'll answer all. Hante is coming. Joey's coming. And in the middle of the city, she turns into a black dragon. Lufin warns it's his turn now. Jinzu starts casting a spell. He'll become the enemy of the Taken King. Lufin asks if she's really trying to scare him, especially since she came here for his family. Joey starts to conjure a fireball, and he says he doesn't care if she's a princess. She tells him to be careful. Joey looks in his direction with the fireball. Lufin tells her to stop and cuts Jinzu's staff. The guy descends from the griffin and tells Lufin to hide the dragon since many Shanghai says he's a good boy with integrity. He doesn't need to worry because they have to protect him. However, he can't do it alone, so he has a condition. Everyone seems to Shanghai learns that he'll have to become the champion of the second province in the grand exam while Shanghai relays the princess. Kim Q says it's very difficult. All the best students from the entire southern province. Shanghai warns once again that he'll only protect him if he achieves that. Determined Lufin says he accepts the condition. Lufin knows that the points you earn in this exam Snowman recognizes him as one of the best students in his class. The other students formidable student of the year. The bald guy says he's also keeping an eye on Miss King Q, and she seems promising. Gandalf had Gandalf says apparently he's not giving up. The sky turns red and they can't believe he's planning to enter the nightmare difficulty alone. Lufin is smiling when the guys reveal that no one has ever entered the nightmare and come out unscathed, but he's teleported to the skies. Gandalf is trembling, saying the last person who entered the nightmare was 8 years ago, and he had a miserable death. The bald guy says it's ridiculous. Apparently, he didn't educate the boy properly, and he should know what happens to those who enter the nightmare. Confident, Shanghai says it's too late to draw conclusions, and we should just watch what happens. Gandalf is curious and asks Shanghai why he has so much confidence in him. It's a passive recommendation. Lufin appears behind his friend. There are at least 10 creatures. Some humanoid black wolves and other Lufin seems confident, saying that everything is just fine. The slasher's blade cuts through all the creatures, and with that, he completes the first floor. The old bald guy is incredulous that he really won with just one attack. He asks if he really found the legendary dragon. Lufin still has to climb quite a bit in the except for the red briefcase. The old ones can't take their eyes off Lufin's performance. The guy in the suit shouts at everyone and introduces himself as someone who came to investigate from the city of Langu. He wants to know where the dragon tamer known as Lufin is. His name is Qianxiang, and he's a level 57 swordsman. In the tower, several vines are cut, and Lufin is progressing smoothly. One of the maps he had made was with the treasure there, and he finally located it. In the midst of all the plans, he manages to locate a book of accelerated growth skills. When used, his pet gains double experience. Lufin realizes that this will obviously be perfect for Xiaowei. After all, he had noticed that she had difficulty leveling up, so this will help a lot. Qianxiang is looking at the screen, saying that Lufin is in their school. They'd better interrupt this test now and call him here. Gandalf says the test is something very important for all students, and as the director there, he can deal with whatever problem the boy has. Qianxiang then asks if he will deal with the punishment he deserves. The old man is curious, and Qianhai asks him what he means by the punishment the dragon boy did. Qianxiang tears off his arm, telling him not to come closer. However, he should know that if he tries to keep protecting this boy, the whole Jin family will go against him. He pushes him, telling him to get out of there, and tells the director to bring the boy now. Qianhai lights a cigarette and says that after Lufin's secrets are exposed, neither the Jin family nor the superiors will care. Qianxiang asks what secret he's talking about and says he's going too far. But Qianhai grabs his arm and warns him that if he wants to go that far, he accepts this punishment, while revealing a deep dependence on cigarettes since he doesn't even drop the thing in the middle of the mess. Qianxiang warns that he'll report his actions to the long Lufin and ensure he received good resources. Looking out the window, he thought that once his mission there was over, it would be great to meet the future legend. But staring at a red globe of light, he wondered if this would ever end. Meanwhile, in her room, Princess Jintu had just discovered that Yuan Shanfeng had lost all her positions. However, the person on the phone informed her that they had found another dragon tamer in the city of Qinchao. She got excited, saying she hoped it was someone who understood the situation she was in. Han Wu, the muscular guy, was now finishing his test with 89,000 points. The poor guy was exhausted.
Wir haben heute den 27.03.2026. Es ist 12:54 Uhr mitteleuropäischer Zeit und ich habe wieder die Nachrichten für euch. Vorher möchte ich nochmal darauf aufmerksam machen, dass ihr gerne bei Meinungsmache.de vorbeischauen könnt. Meinungsmache.de ist die Plattform für Nachrichten, die ihr dann so nachlesen könnt. Also wir fassen Nachrichten von anderen Plattformen zusammen. Auch die aus dem Stream hier findet ihr hier, aber zusätzliche noch exklusive Beiträge. Und könnt hier einfach mal schauen, hey, was ist denn gestern gewesen? Was war denn so los? Das ist alles für euch so schön aufbereitet. Schaut da mal gerne vorbei bei Meinungsmache.de oder schaut auf dem YouTube-Kanal vorbei, damit ihr so ein bisschen worüber sich ein paar Leute freuen, denn meines Wissens wurde heute nach der Riester-Rente beschlossen. Für den einen oder anderen, der wird sich jetzt noch dunkel an die Riester-Rente erinnern können. Heute wurde wohl die Nachfolge der Riester-Rente beschlossen. Riester-Verträge auch Steuern fällig? Darauf gibt der Gesetzesentwurf eine lapidare an den bisherigen Grundsätzen der steuerlichen Fördersystematik, also einer steuerlichen Verträge in der Ansparphase und der nachgelagerten Steuerung fest. I don't fucking know what this means, aber wahrscheinlich heißt das ja. Okay, also das ist ein Artikel, der kommt aus der Süddeutschen, falls ihr mal gucken wollt. Alles, was ich dazu gelesen habe, dann nicht schlecht. Also es klingt zumindest nicht so, als würde das ein schlechteres Produkt werden und das ist vielleicht der Maßstab, den man hat. Es klingt zumindest nicht so, als wäre das ein schlechteres Produkt als die Riester. Und grundsätzlich haben sich Versicherungen und Finanzinstitute mit Riester-Verträgen die Taschen voll gemacht. Und das muss unbedingt aufhören. Deswegen finde ich das erstmal, klingt das jetzt erstmal ganz okay. Das klingt jetzt tatsächlich erstmal, ganz okay. So, klingt jetzt erstmal ganz okay. Würde ich jetzt nicht komplett weghängen. Okay, das kommt aus der Süddeutschen Zeitung. Verträge mit 1% zu Kosten sind selbst naja, es sind nicht garantiert 1%, sie sind auf 1% gedeckelt. Es kann also nicht mehr als 1% sein. Was mir den Anschein macht, als wäre es in der als wäre das in der Finanzbranche bei Riester-Verträgen deutlich mehr. Und die Reaktion von Finanziers dann halt eben auch das nochmal bestätigt. Wird das von Arbeitgeber mitgetragen? Nee, das ist ein Selbsthilfes. Das hat nichts mit Arbeitgebern zu tun. Ja, das ist eine Begleitsituation von der gesetzlichen. So, gehen wir mal in die Tagesschau. Es gibt Diskussionen zu einer Anhebung der Mehrwertsteuer. Ich weiß nicht, ob ihr das schon mitbekommen habt. Ich hatte gestern, glaube ich, schon mal was dazu angedeutet, dass darüber geredet wird. Jetzt habe ich mal einen Artikel dazu rausgesucht, damit wir uns das Ganze mal ein bisschen genauer anschauen. Okay? Da gibt es Debatten drüber und jetzt schauen wir mal, wie sieht das denn jetzt aktuell aus. In der Bundesregierung wird derzeit eine Anhebung des Mehrwertsteuersatzes von 19 auf 21% durchgespielt, um eine Senkung der Einkommenssteuer für kleine und mittlere Einkommen zu finanzieren. Bundeskanzler Friedrich Merz schließt Änderungen bei der Mehrwertsteuer nicht aus. Dass eine Anhebung der Mehrwertsteuer die Staatseinnahmen deutlich erhöhen würde, ist unter Ökonomen unstrittig. Zitat: Würde die deutsche Bundesregierung den Mehrwertsteuersatz von 19 auf 21% erhöhen, waren das 32 Milliarden an zusätzlichen Einnahmen. Sagt Marcel Fratscher, Präsident des Deutschen Instituts für Wirtschaftsforschung DIW in Berlin, in Gesprächen mit der ARD-Finanzredaktion. Das Nachsehen haben die Verbraucher. Da die Unternehmen den höheren Steuersatz in der Regel auf die Verkaufspreise überwälzen, werden viele Waren und Dienstleistungen teuer. Steigt die Mehrwertsteuer von 19 auf 21%, so kostet etwa ein Fernseher, der zuvor 600 € gekostet hat, dann rund 610 €, sofern die Höhe der Steuer vollständig an die Verbraucher weitergegeben wird. Darauf könnt ihr einlassen. Wie stark die Verbraucher dann von den höheren Preisen betroffen sind, hängt dabei in erster Linie vom Anteil des Einkommens ab, den sie für den Konsum aufwenden müssen. So könnte etwa reiche Haushalte deutlich mehr sparen. Zitat: Die obersten 1% haben Sparquoten. DIW-Präsident Fratscher hält das für problematisch. Zitat: Eine Mehrwertsteuererhöhung auf die Menschen mit niedrigem Einkommen deutlich härter. Thatcher verweist dagegen auf die Folgen für die Binnenkonjunktur. Zitat, wenn die Menschen weniger Geld in der Tasche haben, dann werden sie weniger konsumieren. Heißt also weniger Wirtschaftswachstum, weniger wirtschaftliche Dynamik und auch Unternehmer würden darunter leiden. Aufschlussreich ist in diesem Zusammenhang auch der Blick zurück. Zum 1. Januar 2007 wurde die Mehrwertsteuer in Deutschland von 16 auf 19%. Schwäche und Konsumnachfrage spiegelte demnach die Kaufkraft hinzu durch die höhere Mehrwertsteuer. Das ist eine aller Dinge. Dann ist weniger Konsum für alle schlecht an dieser Stelle. Den Hinweis, den ich diesbezüglich geben will, wisst ihr übrigens, wenn ihr eine konsumierende Kaufkraft habt, den ihr Geld bekommt. Wenn man Bürgergeld empfängt, streicht und ihr weniger in die Tasche gibt, dann könnt ihr weniger kaufen. Das ist tatsächlich etwas, das ist ein No-Brainer. Bürgergeldempfängern Geld zu geben und den 100 Euro mehr oder 200 Euro mehr zu geben, oder die würden einfach verfickt doch mal die Kohle in die Wirtschaft pumpen, weil die das alles ausgeben. Die sparen das nicht alles. Die geben das alles aus. Das heißt, wenn man Bürgergeldempfänger Mittel streicht, dann kann die logischerweise nicht konsumieren und dann geben sie nichts aus. Dann kommt dann der Wirtschaftspreis. Das ist einfach, wirklich einfach. So, wo war ich? Ah ja, besonders deutlich sind die Folgen für die Inflation bei einer Reihe sollte die Bundesregierung den Satz erneut anlegen, erwarten Leute ähnliche Effekte. Zitat, die Verbraucherpreise werden steigen. Die Unternehmen werden eine Mehrwertsteuer die werden weitergehen, ist Ökonom Weichel wieder überzeugt. Gerade diese negativen Effekte gilt es angesichts der aktuellen wirtschaftlichen Lage in Deutschland im Auge zu behalten. Der Gleichzeitig rechnen viele Ökonomen mittelfristig mit stark steigenden Inflationsraten, falls die Energiepreise länger hoch bleiben. Eine zusätzliche Verteuerung durch eine höhere Mehrwertsteuer käme damit noch zur Unzeit. Hinzu kommt, dadurch würde sich auch der Druck auf die Europäische Zentralbank erhöhen, mit Zinserhöhungen auf die steigenden Preise zu erhöhen. Spätestens dann würde die Belastung für die Konjunktur spürbar. Die steigende Mehrwertsteuererhöhung ein schneller Einnahmegewinn. Die deutsche Volkswirtschaft könnte das sehr teuer zu stehen. So eine Mehrwertsteuererhöhung zum jetzigen absoluten Vollidioten. Das ist halt dumm. Also don't do it. Das ist dumm. Es gibt vielleicht einen Zeitpunkt dafür, Mehrwertsteuer zu geben. This is not the time. Es ist nicht die Zeit dafür, in einer spiralen Verteuerung aufgrund der Krise im Iran die Mehrwertsteuer zu erhöhen. Das Verteuerungspotenzial ist gewaltig. Don't fucking do it, ihr fucking Idioten, um das mal sachlich zu halten. Don't do this. Das ist ein Artikel, der kommt aus der Tagesschau. Don't do this. Gucken wir mal auf die Demo von Colin Fernandes. Die Süddeutsche Zeitung hat so einen Artikel geschrieben. Es ist ein mächtiges Geräusch, wenn tausende Frauen gleichzeitig schreien. Eine halbe Minute lang. Aus vollem Halse. Aus Wut. Es Es ist ein Geräusch, das man so noch nicht gehört hat. Lasst alles raus, fordert die Veranstalterin auf der Bühne vom Hamburger Rathaus, wo sie diesen Donnerstagabend ein Zeichen setzen wollte. Es reicht. Die Scham muss die Seiten wechseln. Also das Motto der Demo, zu der viel mehr gekommen sind, als es erwartet wurde. Und dann lassen sie ihn raus. Manche bis zur Heiserkeit, den alten Schmerz und den neuen. Eine Woche ist sie alt, die Titelgeschichte des Spiegels, in der die Schauspielerin Colleen Fernandes schwere Vorwürfe gegen ihren Ex-Mann Christian Ulm erhebt. Jahrelang soll er Fake-Profile in ihrem Namen erstellt und Männer sexualisierte Nachrichten und pornografisches Material geschickt haben. Ulms Anwalt Christian Scherz kündigte an, aus seiner Sicht zulässige Verdachtsberichterstattung vorzulegen. In einem Informationsschreiben seiner Kanzlei ist von unwahren Tatsachen und einseitigen Schilderungen die Rede. Wir haben den Täter Die juristische Aufarbeitung steht am Anfang, der Fall ist nicht aufgeklärt, es gilt die Unschuldsvermutung. An dieser Stelle die Erschütterung aber ist sehr schnell sehr groß. So groß, dass sie nicht in den Chatnachrichten bleibt, die Freundinnen, Schwestern, Töchter sich hin und her schicken. Überall im Land gehen Menschen auf die Straße, in Berlin, in Hannover, um Solidarität zu zeigen und Fernandes. Eigentlich hatte sie ihre Teilnahme im Hamburg-Tag zuvor abgesagt. Es gebe Morddrohungen und ernsthafte Sicherheitsbedenken, schrieb sie auf Social Media. Die Hamburger Polizei will das auf Nachfrage nicht bestätigen, aber es braucht nur ein paar Klicks, um verstörende KI-Videos zu finden, in denen einer Frau, die aussieht wie Colleen Fernandes, schlimmste Gewalt angetan wird. Und dann steht sie doch da, in schwerer Lederjacke. Tat, ich wollte hier raufkommen und stark sein, aber ich schaffe es gerade nicht. Fernandes ringt um Fassungen und Worte. Es ist kaum vorstellbar, wie fertig einen das alles macht, sagt sie, und meint nicht nur den eigenen Fall. Noch immer werden partnerschaftliche Gewalt viel zu selten angezeigt, digitale Gewalt noch seltener. Zitat, und ich stehe hier in schusssicherer Weste mit Security, weil Männer mich killen wollen. Man dürfe sich nicht wundern, dass viele Frauen nicht den Mut hätten zu sprechen, sagt Fernandes. Zitat, es wäre so viel einfacher, wenn die Täter selbst sagen würden, ja, ich habe das gemacht. Es gäbe ein gewaltiges Dunkelfeld in Deutschland. Zitat, lasst uns all unsere Taschenlampen, unsere Scheinwerfer rausholen. Lasst uns die Mauer des Schweigens einreißen. Der Ball noch immer wird es voller, obwohl ein Hagelschauer durchgezogen ist. Sarah Kenbey vom Hamburger Stadtrat kritisiert den Bundeskanzler, der den Fall zum Anlass nahm, um Gewalt durch Zuwanderer zu schützen. Vor Frauen März rassistische Rassismus. Das war nicht das Problem. Die Polizei die Exekutive ist dafür bekannt, konservative Schätzungen der Teilnehmer zu machen. Spricht von 17.000 Teilnehmern. Also es ist wahrscheinlich eher mit 20.000 zu rechnen. Wir haben gelernt, wie schnell es geht, dass nicht mehr die Würde der Frau verteidigt wird, sondern die Bequemlichkeit aller anderen, sagt Aktivistin Luisa Neubauer in ihrer Rede. Auch sie habe Nachrichten von einem Mann erhalten, der angekündigt hat, ihr, Zitat, auf der Demo eine Kugel in den Kopf zu jagen. Man dürfe nicht fragen, was muss noch passieren, ruft Neubauer. Es ist längst passiert. Die Frage ist, was machen wir damit? Eine Demo kann immer nur ein Anfang sein. Da sind sich viele hier einig. Die Polizei spricht von 17.000 Teilnehmern, darunter viele Männer. In Hamburg werden sie teils einer Performance des feministischen Kollektivs Handmaid's Rights angelehnt an Margaret Atwoods dystopischen Roman The Handmaid's Tale. Alle Frauen sollen sich setzen, in die Knie gehen auf dem kalten Pflaster. Die Männer bleiben stehen. Wie fühlt sich das für euch an? Werden sie von der Bühne herabgefragt. Schaut einander in die Augen, befragt euch selbst, eure Kumpels und dann handelt. Wir können diese Gesellschaft nicht ohne euch Männer verändern. Zitat Ende. Ein Gedenker herrscht Schweigen auf dem Hamburger Rathaus. Nichts davon hindert mich, wenn es darum geht, dass Aktivistinnen und Opfer von sexualisierter Gewalt davon schreiben, dass sie dafür, dass sie sich äußern, also weil sie davon reden, ne? Also weil sie davon sprechen, Morddrohungen, nichts davon wundert mich. Das ist halt einfach die Realität. Und an dieser Stelle will ich noch eine Sache hinzufügen, weil das auch immer wieder so wichtig ist. Männer, die eine Sensibilisierung dafür haben, dass es diese Form der Gewalt gibt und wie ausgeprägt sie ist, haben kein Problem damit, zu sagen, dass es immer der im Rahmen dieser Gewalt nicht partizipiert, fühlt sich bis heute nicht verstehen, wenn man denn selbst nicht mitgemeint ist, warum man das ist die Wahrheit. Es sind nun mal in nahezu allen Fällen Männer. Das Problem hat keine Hautfarbe, das Problem hat einen Pimmel. Und darum ist es auch so frustrierend, was Friedrich Merz daraus gemacht hat. Das hat nichts mit Religion zu tun, das hat nichts mit Herkunft zu tun, das hat nichts mit Afghane, Syrer, was auch immer zu tun. Das sind halt Männer sind das Problem. Und Männer, die das wissen, die sagen, Männer sind das Problem, die das anerkennen können, fühlen sich bei sowas nicht angesprochen, sondern fühlen bei sowas, dass sie unterstützen müssen. Das ist eine logische Schlussfolgerung. Ich verstehe das nicht. Ja, aber das wollte ich an dieser Stelle nochmal zusätzlich machen. Wichtige Demo, wichtiger Fall und ja, keine Ahnung. Das Thema mit der Unschuldsvermutung. Die Unschuldsvermutung gilt rechtlich. Der Typ ist trotzdem. Jetzt aber noch. Das kommt aus der Süddeutschen Zeitung. Jetzt ein Thema, bei dem ich persönlich eine gewisse Überschneidung habe, weil mich das thematisch auch sehr, sehr, sehr in meiner Arbeit. Denn es geht um Kleidung. Es geht um Kleidung. Die Tagesschau berichtet, es geht um Kleidung und Hersteller sollen nach dem Ideen von Umwelt in Zukunft bezahlen, wenn sie die Produkte entsorgen. Das Hausdrucke lautet, je mehr Textilien und je minderwertiger Waren, wer umweltfreundlich und nachhaltig produziert, zahlt weniger. Sammeln, zu sortieren, zu transportieren, zu verwenden. Organisieren werden soll das jetzt eine Organisation zu gründen. Wer in Deutschland etwas verkaufen will, muss sich zukünftig registrieren. Der Vernichtungsapparat von Textilien ist insane. Der Vernichtungsapparat von Textilien ist unfassbar. Und wir reden nicht von Kleiderspenden. Wir reden nicht von Leuten, die irgendwas überhaupt kriegen. Wir reden von Verbrennen, von Vernichten, von die kriegen das zurück. Zu vernichten. Da wird nichts gespendet, da wird nichts Obdachlosen abends zur Verfügung gestellt. Es geht hier um Vernichtungslogistik. Das ist sogar in den Preisen der Produkte mit eingebunden. Die werden so billig hergestellt und so dreckig produziert. Das ist beste Option ist, sie zu verbrennen und zu vernichten. Das macht jemand. Das ist gang und gäbe. Gang und gäbe. Alles, was über Amazon, Zalando, diese ganze Scheiße, das ist das Prinzip. Der Vernichtungsapparat ist unglaublich. Das ist ohne fucking Glauben. Weiter heißt es hier, es soll dabei vor allem um Fast Fashion und schnelle Mode gehen. Fast Fashion wäre nur kurz, macht aber länger. Der massenhafte Wettbewerb es gelte auch für Billigimporte aus China. Deutliche Kritik kommt von den Herstellern. Der Gesamtverband der Textil- und Modeindustrie bezeichnet die Pläne als Ablasshandel und geschäftsschädigend in einer Wirtschaftskrise. Genau. Das ist nicht richtig. Das kann nicht geschäftsschädigend sein. Das ist darauf aufgebaut, diesen Duktus und diese Mechanik einfach nicht mehr. Die sollen sich geben. Beklagt wird vor allem, dass das Gesetz neue Bürokratie schaffe und das nicht für die Ursache beseitige für billige Mode aus dem Ausland. Die Hersteller befürchten, dass sie als Mittelständler die Folgen mitbezahlen müssen. Geplant ist, dass in Zukunft pro 1000 Einwohner verfügbar ist. Gemeinnützige Sammler sind privilegiert. Secondhand-Läden oder Kleiderkammern sind zunächst nicht. Diese Praktik sollte, also das sollte nicht existieren. Ich bin persönlich, natürlich, weil wir halt auch eine gewisse Sensibilität haben, und ich kann euch sagen, es ist unfassbar, was an Klamotten vernichtet. Es ist Da reden wir noch nicht von dem Vernichtungsabsatz, der über die Entsorgung der Produkte so passiert. Merken, dass das fucking billig ist, fuck ist. Die schmeißen das halt auf den Rest. Die schmeißen das irgendwo. Die können auf jeden Fall nicht zu irgendeiner Spendenkampagne oder irgendeiner oder bei hatte er demnach vier Großaufnehmungen der Wasserschutzpolizei auf den richtigen Weg bringen und bestenfalls in Richtung Nordsee transportieren. Der Bürgermeister der Gemeinde Timmendorfer Strand, Sven Hartheil, hofft, dass dieses Vorhaben auch gelingt. Es besteht in flachen Gewässern. Trotzdem sagt Hartheil auch, dass die Erwartung darüber, dass der Wal die Sandbank verlassen hat, erstmals Ministerpräsident Daniel Günther hatte bereits am Donnerstag den Dorf besucht und von der Feuerwehr, der DLRG sowie Umweltschützer und Wissenschaftler. Ich glaube, wir haben sie jetzt alle darüber gefreut, dass alles gut ist, dass der Kanal jetzt frei war, der neue Wal an die Walschützer Robert Mark-Nehmer sagt, der Biologe und Walschützer Robert Mark-Nehmer, der bereits gestern zum Wahltauchen das Tier in Augenschein genommen hatte, freut sich, dass der Wal die Sandbank aus eigener Hand verlassen hat. Er merkt aber auch, am Ende ist das nicht die Rettung. Es ist ein erster Schritt, aber in einer Rettung könnte erst einmal sein, wenn der Wal wieder zurück im Atlantik ist. Es kann nach Angaben von Experten dass der Wal gesund und fressend wieder im Atlantik ist. Unser Buckel von Niendorf lag am Morgen leer da. Der Buckelwal war weg. Bericht des NDR schließen Vollstand gefordert zu den der Wal hat sich gerade etwa 20 Meter in Bewegung gesetzt Richtung Ostsee. Er kämpft und macht laute Geräusche. Die Baggerfahrer rufen und animieren den Buckelwal weiter voran. Am Donnerstagabend um etwa 20:30 Uhr ab. Der Bürgermeister der Gemeinde Timmendorfer Strand sagte, aus Sicherheitsgründen sollte bei Dunkelheit nicht weitergemacht werden. Aber fehlte dem Wal am Abend noch wenige Meter auf die erste Freizeit. Und wir werden sehen, hoffentlich die Leute von Mission Erde das hin. Die sind ja mit dabei und hoffentlich können sie den Atlantik das kommt aus der Tagesschau und wird sich damit gleich durch. Das ist die letzte Nachricht. Und ich danke euch auf jeden Fall auch, dass ihr zugehört habt, dass ihr das mitgenommen habt. Ich danke euch. Ich hoffe, ihr nehmt so ein bisschen was mit. Das war die Nachricht.
Ha 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 ha!
It's the confidence scar. You said it more confidently in my head.
28! Oh, you get 36? I tried to say
Don't say it like that. You are mogging him.
How old do you think I am, Scott? You look like you're like
'em. You also showed the V down there.
The
Wow,
cum gutters?
You
Those
should
are
have warned
called-
me.
Those are called cum gutters.
Okay, thank you.
Huh?